I've noticed that you've had some time at Take Two. Sorry, Take That's the band, and Sega. I wonder if you have any stories to share, particularly like Grand Theft Auto. I'm always very curious about how that came to market.
I think I've always worked more on the sort of commercial business side at the publishers. So although I've had sort of involvement with development and studios, and one of the coolest things obviously being in that position is getting to see the code and the game, quite early on before it's announced, and then building up to the excitement in the market around it, and when you've got the big E3 announcements and stuff like that, and gauging people's reactions. I left Take-Two just as GTA 5 was announced. And I remember the day it was announced, and, Rockstar are obviously an incredibly, the games they bring out are so highly anticipated. Everything shrouded in, a lot of, you have to be very careful. So I remember the day that was announced internally, and then it went out publicly not long after. And, that was incredible, and seeing the reaction. And I think for a game that came out, I think in 2013, and the first iteration, for it to have been included in the PS5 announcement last week, just shows, I think, the sort of digitalization of games, which is what my career's got sort of been centered around, is digital download, moving away from packaging, and how that sort of extended the life cycle of games. When I worked at Sega, we used to do so well in the Steam sales and humble bundles from these like retro games that are 10, 15 years old, but people still buy in huge volumes, because digitally they can be available and you can play them now. So I think those are some of the biggest shifts I saw. But I do remember clearly when Sega first announced the Total War and Warhammer franchises coming together. That was very cool to see the trailer, and these two incredible, Total War being like the pinnacle of strategy games for people who like those, and then Warhammer being this universe which is so loved, and a license which is so celebrated. To see those come together and have the fantasy element to a Total War franchise was very cool. So that was probably like the most, the biggest step forward in a new iteration of an existing franchise that I saw when I was at Sega.
I was one of those people squealing for Warhammer. I love Total War.